When I was in second grade, my mom came into my room to have a very important conversation with me. Basically, she sat me down on my bed and then she said something that has probably changed my life forever. And that was that my dad decided to implement a brand new system for studying. She then gave me a small notebook and told me to divide every single page into 2 columns. One column would be titled English and the other column would be titled Arabic. Then she asked me to open all of my textbooks and start writing down all the words that I did not understand in the English section and their translation in the Arabic section. The notebook would then be called the dictionary. If you're new here, I come from Egypt, which basically means that my native language is actually Arabic. But I was taught English ever since I was 3 years old, plus I was in an international school, which means that I could only ever speak in English when I was at school. So that was kind of like a weird request to me at the time since I could already speak in English fluently, so why would I have to do that? And then my mom said something that was extremely tempting for a 7-year-old girl. She said that for every 500 words that I write down and memorize in the dictionary, I would earn $100. So this story, ladies and gentlemen, is what probably has started my active language learning journey, plus what probably has led to my language learning obsession. You may be wondering, how did that little notebook turn a 7-year-old girl into someone who's actually obsessed with languages? Well, somewhere along the way, it stopped being about the money. After my first 1,000 words, I realized I actually enjoyed learning new vocab. With every word I learned, it felt like I was unlocking a new tiny piece of language. Before I even noticed it, my vocab had grown so much that by 5th grade, I actually picked up my very first English novel, and that was The Picture of Dorian Gray. And somehow, I surprisingly understood the whole novel without actually relying on any translation. Looking back, I don't think the notebook actually taught me English. It actually taught me how to fall in love with language learning. The money is what got me started, but curiosity is what kept me going. As time went on, I discovered better ways of learning languages. I traded my little vocab notebook for textbooks, immersion, flashcards, and all the other language learning methods that you've probably heard about before. But looking back, I actually realized that it wasn't the conventional methods that you hear about in language learning videos that actually got me here. It was actually the unconventional methods that worked. Today I want to share 5 unconventional language learning tips that actually helped me get here, and they genuinely changed the way I actually study languages. So without further ado, let's get started. Tip number 1, treat language learning as a hobby, not as a chore. That includes playing games in your target language, watching movies or TV shows, or maybe even listening to music. If you actually start incorporating your target language in the hobbies that you usually enjoy, you're going to find it so much faster and so much quicker to actually learn something new in your target language, obviously. That leads me to tip number 2, which is to actually start reading in your target language much earlier than you think that you should start. This can include novels, articles, books, light novels, mangas, any content that you can read. And you may be wondering, well, I just started studying this language. How can I read something in this language if I still can't speak it? Well, you're obviously not going to understand most, if not all, of the content that you're going to meet. But at the same time, reading actually sets up your vocabulary to have a very, very strong base. For example, you start reading a children's book, and there's this one word that starts popping up everywhere in that children's book. By the end of it, you're going to actually remember this word, even if you did not really intend to do that. Another thing that you can do is actually combine tip number 1 and tip number 2 together. For example, by watching something and opening up the caption and then just looking up the translation, or just having the translation with the caption. This actually worked really well for me in Japanese since I used to watch Peppa Pig in Japanese. So I would turn on the Japanese captions and then I would also put on the English translation. So in case I just meet a word that I'm not really familiar with, I could just immediately learn the meaning of the word. Tip number 3, it is to build micro obsessions, which means picking a specific topic and then learning the vocabulary which is actually related to that topic. For example, today I would decide to learn the fruits in Portuguese, and I would pull up a list of fruit names in Portuguese and their translation in English, and also words that can be related to that set of words. For example, the word for sugar, since fruit is sweet, the word knife, since I use it to cut fruit, the word to eat, since I eat the fruit, and the word to wash, since I also wash the fruit. So there are countless vocab words that I could learn just from a list of words that I decided on today. A list of words doesn't have to be something like fruit. It can be something like space if you're interested in space, or maybe something like gaming if you actually like gaming, and so on. For tip number 4, which actually helped me a lot while learning Japanese, which is to start a diary or a journal in your target language. Every single day, I would write down what happened in that specific day, the way I felt. As time went on, there were actually words that stuck in my head because of how often I was actually writing them down. Like, for example, the words ureshi, kanashi, sabishi, they were words that I constantly used while writing down in my diary. This diary also helped me a lot to be able to express my own emotions in my target language, plus obviously teaching me vocab words that just stuck in my head because of how often I was just mentioning them. For my fifth and last tip is for you to make your language learning both measurable and rewarding. Like for the 500 words policy that I've mentioned earlier that my dad has implemented, it was actually extremely motivating for me to actually memorize these 500 words so I could get the money. It doesn't have to be the same thing. It can be something simple like I'm going to memorize 30 words today, and by the end of the day I'm going to actually get myself a snack that I enjoy as a reward. It can be something as small as that, or it can be something as big as being like, if I reach B1 level in German by the end of this year, I'm going to actually book myself a trip to Germany. Another example is maybe learning 5 grammar points today, or having a conversation for 30 minutes with a native speaker in that specific language. All of these are actually measurable things, and you can actually reward yourself for doing them. This can also really help you learn how to be disciplined in studying your target language, since we humans really crave getting rewards after finishing a specific task. By the end of this video, I really hope you enjoyed my kind of unconventional language learning tips. I know some of these can be really tough, like for example writing a diary in your target language, but trust me, in the long term they're going to be all very rewarding. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you found it helpful for your language learning journey. If you'd like to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications. Plus follow me on Instagram and TikTok at shxt.med. They're going to appear right here. My name is Shahd. I'm a third year medical student going on to my fourth year right now. Thank you for watching this video and have a great day. Bye bye.